Welcome back to Around the Block Volleyball. The NCAA women's season kicked off this weekend with the AVCA First Serve. And I think we can safely say that things were a little bit interesting. But today we are here to overreact to everything that went right and wrong for each of the teams that played this weekend. So there's a lot of big games that happened this weekend. A lot of the top teams played.
Yeah.
And in the spirit of things that went right and wrong, there's no better way to start it off, especially overreacting, to Texas.
Yeah, this is the big one. And I'm sure a lot of people will want to hear what we have to say about this team because, man, was it a ride.
I think we can kick it off with something a little bit light to some, maybe not to others, but I think this is a good way to just broadly talk about the NCAA as a whole right now, is there was a lot of topspin serving going on for Texas.
Yeah.
And at the very least for Texas, it wasn't working so well. Some other teams in the nation, they started incorporating a little bit more topspin. It kind of worked.
Yeah.
Texas, I think it's pretty safe for us to say it was not working. It really, really was not working.
Yeah, some of the other teams that we saw over the weekend had maybe like a player or two that were doing it. Texas, it felt like pretty much everyone on that team was topspin serving besides like two of them.
Yeah,
two or three of them.
It's probably like Rella Binney and the DS's.
Yeah, and like Ramsey Gary.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting to see. And I know there's that huge conversation about like men's volleyball and stuff like that. It really did feel like we were watching men's volleyball, especially college, like a couple of years ago for the men's, where it was very high error. And, you can get away with it to me if you are doing other things in the game very well in other aspects of the game. Like if you pass well, if your offense is clicking, then you can kind of get away with it. But man, it was not working out, especially that first game against ASU. It was very, very ugly.
It was probably even worse in their second game versus Marquette because it did go 5 sets, which is a little bit of a difference, but they did have 24 service errors. Yeah. And I swear 20 to 21 of them were from topspin serves.
Yeah, it might have been all 24, and I would believe it, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so bad, and I think now to bring it back to maybe just a whole broader like NCAA thing instead of like just Texas, I think, we're seeing the service pressure that teams want start to increase. Like the demand for better serving is here because the efficiency of attacking is starting to become closer and closer to men's volleyball, like you said, and this is a whole other conversation about like the direction of women's volleyball as a whole. But I think a mandate to do topspin serves is probably not the best, especially when I feel like most girls are not topspin serving at all, just in general.
Yeah, they're not really growing up with it. And you could see that with a lot of the Texas players that, of course, they were doing it, and I'm sure they've practiced it a lot recently, but it just doesn't look natural yet. And, of course, it's going to take some time for them to be able to do that, right? Where of course, with the men's, they're doing that in club volleyball. They're doing it for years. But even for some of them, it still wasn't looking comfortable. They would under-toss the ball. The ball would be kind of behind them, or it wouldn't really have much topspin on it. But of course, you can't deny the physicality of these players that they can make it work. It's just they do need more time for it. So I'm sure it's more of a long haul type of idea for that Texas coaching staff. I don't mind the idea, but I think for like what you're saying, it's a mandate of pretty much all the pin hitters to be doing it. I'm not sure you have to go that far. There are a lot of other teams in the country that have gotten away with not topspin serving. Like Stanford is a very good example of having a lot of really good float serves that are super aggressive or in the right location that you get them out of system or you get aces. And you have that service pressure. I'm not sure if you need to do it with everyone topspin serving. I will say they had some moments here and there. There were some really good topspin serves. So
Kari Spears had a run.
Kari Spears had a run. Abby Vanderwall had some really good rips. Genevieve Harris, to me, felt like she had the most consistent out of the topspin serves, which is kind of funny that it's the freshman setter that is doing that.
She probably grew up doing it.
It looks like it's more natural for her, but I do think with time it could look a lot better for those pin hitters. But again, I'm not too sure if it's not fitting the vision that they wanted right now. But I wasn't expecting it to be honest.
Yeah, basically losing a whole set due to service errors alone. This is not even talking about hitting errors. That's pretty bad. So it's a big question that we're going to have to see for Texas moving forward. For sure. Whether maybe, this was the first weekend, of course, where they're actually trying out this mandate in games, along with some of the other big changes that they've made that we have to talk about. But I think maybe you're hoping that, okay, this was like first, second game jitters. Maybe when
Yeah.
things start cooling down, they start to get their normal matches in. It's not at these big events like First Serve. Maybe the service will start to get rolling a little bit, or at least become a little bit more consistent. Maybe even a little bit more aggressive, because at some point they definitely started to get a lot more scared with their serves. Felt like they were just rolling it over. And by that fifth set, they basically switched over to all returning to float serves anyways.
Yeah, I mean, Tori Stafford was like the poster child for that for me in these first two matches, where most of her errors felt like they were off of either a bad toss, I'm sure, but even in that Marquette match, I believe she had 6 service errors, and it felt like 3 of them were because she was trying to roll the ball in and not trying to hit it as hard, and it was still sailing out versus trying to actually just go for it. And of course, there is that type of, you have to balance what your risk is with those types of serves. I'm sure that's still a question that she's dealing with as she kind of develops that in her game, I guess. But I will say, I guess impressed is not the best word to say, but I was surprised that they were still so steadfast in that idea of, okay, we are going to topspin. And for the most part, they were topspin serving, and they didn't switch away from that. They didn't get shy from it. They didn't think, oh, we have to switch it now. They didn't panic or anything.
Until the fifth set.
Yeah. I mean, again, we'll see how it works out for them in the long run. But, I mean, if it works out and a couple of them are able to topspin serve and they're more efficient with it and they get more comfortable, I think it could work out for them. But, again, I think it's still a very big if.
Yeah, a lot of them feel like they should have the arms to do this.
For sure.
Like in the same way for the men's, where they're hitting so hard, they're swinging all the time, like ripping it. It feels like, oh, yeah, doing it from the service line, it should feel a little bit more natural, and it should be big swings all the time. I think maybe we'll get there for some of these Texas players. Now, will I think all of them will get there by the end of the season? Maybe not. Like, I feel like this might be a very player-to-player basis.
I think so.
So
I think that's kind of how they have to approach it.
Yeah, I think Kari Spears is one where I'm looking for. Like, she started to look really, really comfortable. I'm okay with her. I have high hopes for her. Abby Vanderwall, I'm still worried about that consistency. Tori Stafford, same thing. So it'll be interesting to follow this plot line for Texas.
Yeah.
Along with all the other things that they have going on.
I will say, just before we move off from the serving, it's kind of funny that, to me, Rella Binney, and we talked about it while we were watching the game, it felt like she had the bigger runs in the match against Marquette, where, you know, one of the players that wasn't topspin serving was able to get you the run. It's not really that the service pressure was amazing. She did have some really good serves, but she just also kept the ball in. And Texas was able to be a good enough team that keeping the ball in for them worked. And I thought Marquette was kind of a team that you probably want to err on that side of, okay, let's make sure that we keep the ball in. Of course, still serve well, but, you know, if you just serve the ball out, you don't even give the other team a chance to, or your own team to get a chance to try and just win the point yourself.
Yeah, you can probably even trust in that Texas block a little bit. I feel like, you know, that's kind of their thing, one of their big things, so you might as well trust it a little bit. We did see some good blocking from Texas just over the weekend in general, and it doesn't seem like you trust it as much when you're serving that high air or trying to be a little bit cheeky with your serves. So
I'm not sure. I mean, there were times where I thought the block was solid, and then other times I thought, oh man, they're getting tooled a lot, especially in that ASU match. I thought Una Vajacic was kind of eaten, kind of tooling off them, hitting high hands.
I do think that they fixed it a little bit towards the end. They started to realize, okay, we're getting tooled a little bit, let's make some adjustments, but it did take a while before they made those changes, because they also did give them a lot of line.
Yeah, I mean, the blocking wasn't great, but it did get better throughout the weekend, so there is that.
At least versus Marquette, it was pretty solid. But
yeah, it was definitely better.
Yeah, that's also a change in level. But let's just move on to other things about Texas, because there are a lot of things to talk about with this Texas team. And of course, we have to talk about their just offensive system, their rotation system that they're running this time.
Yeah.
They are running that 6-2, but a little bit modified, where the setters are coming in for the middles and the libero is coming in for the right sides, which is a little bit weird.
Yeah, it is really interesting. I wasn't really expecting someone to try and figure something like that out. So even for me, and I feel like I know, you know, a good amount of rotations, especially in like service season stuff, it was a little confusing to kind of figure out like, oh, what's going on? Like, where is the alignment and stuff? It was a little weird to see, but I think they looked more comfortable, especially towards the end and like with Marquette. But I will admit, I did have a lot of times where I was mentioning while we were watching it, you know, maybe they do just give a try for like a 5-1. I think it's not a bad idea. I know it's a huge change from doing the 6-2 with like a modified lineup, but I thought maybe you could have tried Rella Binney. You could have even tried Genevieve Harris with the freshman And then, of course, we got to mention at least a little bit here. Ella Swindle. If you were watching those games, you would have heard that Ella Swindle had set for that in her freshman season, and they won the Natty off of that. Of course, she did play really well during that season, and she's had kind of ups and downs recently with not as much 2 years ago, but last year she set quite well for that team. And then to see her not playing at all, I thought was very surprising for me. I didn't think that was going to happen like right away. And I thought, hey, maybe you could have ran a 5-1 with her. It really wasn't looking good at times. I thought maybe you messed around with it. But again, I was impressed that they stuck to their guns, and of course they were at least able to win that Marquette match.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't give her any playing time at all, especially with all the struggling that was going on.
Yeah.
And I think even for the setters, and I don't know if I can blame either of them individually for like the setting specifically, especially to the pins. I think the middles were actually run pretty well the entire weekend. Nia Bunton especially.
Yeah.
But to the pins, I think, I don't know what it was, but the pins weren't finding complete consistency for a lot of the weekend. Now, they did towards the very, very end of that Marquette game, and Abby Vanderwall actually a little bit earlier on in the Marquette game, then she started to fall off. Then Tori Stafford started to get her bearings, but the connection just felt a little bit wonky, especially because it was changing between setters.
Yeah.
I guess maybe that rhythm wasn't being built out between the setters and then the hitters. It felt a little bit shaky all the way through, and if it starts every game like that, it's not going to be good news for Texas.
Yeah, and I think some of that has to be chalked up to having that 6-2. Like you were saying, it's two different setters that it's going to rotate through, and you're not always going to have the same ball that you're expecting. And it is even just different because it's not Ella Swindle that's setting them. Of course, Rella Binney they had before in last year, but it is different having that freshman setting out there. But I'm not sure. I think a lot of it is on the hitters as well. It's very slippery slope, but man, it was very up and down for pretty much all of the pins.
Yeah, I don't think you can say any of them had like a great weekend.
I think Kari Spears probably had the best weekend, but it's also not that high of a bar, to be honest.
Yeah, I think, especially because Tori Stafford did not look like herself until the second half of the Marquette game.
Yeah.
And then Abby Vanderwall just didn't have a good first game at all. And then the second game, she had a good first half. Then maybe she had some moments a little bit later on, but a lot of it was still through Tori Stafford at that point.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know what to think about this Texas team, even on the defensive end, moving on to how these rotations are impacting the defense.
Yeah.
Their defense felt a little bit shaky. Tori Stafford also didn't look very good on the defensive end, at least from what I was seeing compared to last year. And maybe that's because the rotations are a little bit different. The libero is coming in at a different point, so things end up a little bit different, a little bit weirder, something maybe you're not too quite used to because you go your whole career where the libero is coming in for the middles.
Yeah.
And now things are different. You got to rotate a little bit differently, play around a little bit differently, especially in that serve receive. And it looked like a shaky serve reception and even general defense from Texas. I didn't really like what was going on this whole weekend from them.
Yeah, it really didn't look great, especially from the pins. I thought Ramsey Gary had a solid weekend. It wasn't really great, but I wouldn't say it was bad either. I thought it was... To me, it was way more about the serving and the passing and how the offense went. I thought she played some solid defense. Mm-hmm. She serve received fine, but it's, she's only one player on the court when serve receive even. Yeah, there's a lot more to do.
And I think for her, at least it's okay being a libero, trying out these new rotation type things because you're just meant to be the aggressive, go for every ball anyways.
Yeah.
So it doesn't impact necessarily what you're doing. Sure, you'll stand in different places at different serve reception times, but it's normally pretty fine for you. But those pins have to be like, oh shoot, it's not the other pin next to me right now, it's someone else.
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
I think actually what helped out was that she was in the middle of the court a lot, which helped her pass a lot more balls. But again, she can only pass so much. So I thought that was something that didn't look as great. I will say, what about the freshmen? How do we feel? Because I really was excited to see how both of them looked. Of course, Henley Anderson was one of the top recruits, if not the top recruit. I was very excited to see what she was going to do. Easiest to say that it was a very rough start for her collegiate debut.
Yeah, I think for Henley Anderson especially, there was a lot of rough moments. There were some bright spots where I was like, okay, wait, she's starting to build something up. I like what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And then it was followed up by like an error or something that was like kind of bad.
Yeah.
And that became an issue where I was like, okay, maybe we got to temper those expectations a little bit. It's also a little bit weird being in that weird rotation that they're doing where she's coming off for the libero. She's hitting right side right now, not playing outside. So I can't blame her too much. This is a very unique situation to come into as a freshman, especially a freshman pin where you're being changed to a different pin.
Yeah, she definitely had moments that you could see her physicality and her arm and how great she was with her jump and taking big swings. But there were a lot of errors as well. And of course, some of it was connection as well, of maybe it was a tight set or it was low, so she wasn't able to really have a great swing at it. But I am still curious to see how she progresses throughout the season and maybe how that role evolves. Are they sticking with the 6-2 or not? Because I think that is still a very valid question if you want to keep sticking with it. But it's not the greatest start, but you can definitely see the talent was there. She's a very good athlete. She can take big swings, so excited to see how it goes, but she's still a big question mark to me.
Yeah, that's generally also stepping up to the collegiate stage and kind of like this much bigger stage where it is AVCA First Serve. And
it's the first two matches.
Yeah, I don't think we also talked about it, but the stadium, pretty packed.
Yeah, it was
so
awesome.
A lot of fans, really good event in general. So I think maybe that's also part of a thing. There were people doing a lot of weird stuff during like serves, even during things.
There's like barking going on. Yeah. A lot of barking.
Barking, some like shouting, yelling during plays. It was all a little bit weird, maybe a little bit difficult for a freshman to kind of get used to. Overwhelming moment. Don't want to blame her too much for it. We'll see how it goes on. And I think generally for Texas, this just shows the overall problem that they've kind of weaseled themselves into, where they have too many good pin hitters, and they're like, we want them all to play. How do we get them all on the court? And this rotation thing is kind of how they figured it out. I think the players are still figuring it out.
Yeah, it's a very much TBD. It's very shaky right now with, you can see it with the whole team. I think it's just a lot of changes going on, like you mentioned, with the 6-2 and the rotations, and then the serving philosophy changing. I think there's a lot that you kind of have to figure out, and I'm curious to see how it looks as we move forward and further into the season.
This one's a big TBD for Texas, but like the overreactions, it's hard to have too many because they just look like a team that doesn't know what they're doing. I will say they've got to drop in the rankings.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, let's wrap this up with Texas. They are going to drop in the rankings. And now the bigger question is, how far do you think they're going to drop in the rankings? Will they get all the way down to 5, even lower than 5? They did lose to ASU. They went 5 with Marquette, unranked.
Yeah, so I think it's tough to say because I thought other teams that you would think you could put right like easily over them, like a Wisconsin maybe you would think about it, or Kentucky even, you could argue it. I think it's still an argument. So to me, it could be 3, 4, I could see it. Even 5, I could still see it because of how Wisconsin looked like in their second match against Louisville. So maybe around that 5 area, just because, yes, you won a match, but yes, you went 5 against the unranked team. And then ASU, they did not look very good. So to me, that's the closest thing that we can do for an overreaction here is they're definitely falling. They're definitely falling in the rankings here. It's definitely a tough start for what everyone was thinking. Oh, it's going to be them and Nebraska as the top 2 teams, and everyone was kind of chalking that up already.
Now let's move on to the next team here. Let's go with the team that played against Texas that first game and beat them. We have ASU, Arizona State University. And for them, it's pretty good things that they ended up beating Texas, but it's also hard to tell exactly how highly we want to rate things for them because Texas looked like absolute trash that entire first match. So ASU only got 1 game, and they played against a Texas team that was scrambling, figuring out what they were doing.
Yeah, I think you can still be confident that this team will be a top 10 team. Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of pretty easy to say. We thought that going into the season already. You saw Noemi Glover play, and she still looked great. I think efficiency was still always a little bit of a question, but she did really well last year, so I'm not really thinking that that's going to be a problem long-term for this season. She was scoring really well. But yeah, I think there is definitely an argument to be made that Texas kind of just sold the game away. They had 17 service errors in that 4-set match. That is a lot of service errors, especially for the women's game right now. Of course, side-out percentage is definitely getting a lot better. Offenses are looking really good, but 17 was a lot, and we did mention it earlier, but it was a lot of hitting errors.
Yeah, their offense also didn't look good.
It was 29. It was 29 hitting errors and 17 service errors, right? That's a lot of points that you give away right there. That's 46 points that you give away, and that's unforced errors in my mind, and that's just hard to gauge for me how ASU lines up of, could they shoot up as high as, 7 or 6, maybe even 5 with how they played. Mm-hmm. It's hard to say. Of course, it's 1 match, but they did look quite good. Unavai just looked really good. Noemi Glover, of course, we already mentioned, but how do you rank that with how Texas played? It's tough to say.
Yeah, I think in terms of overreactions, I want to say for ASU that their offense will actually look a lot more balanced, where think last year it took them Noemi Glover getting injured for them to start finding that balance. Now,
Yeah.
of course, Noemi Glover was the main hitter in this match as well, but Una Vajacic and Meva Schalk, they both started to find their way, getting a little bit of hitting in there, and it looked kind of good. Una Vajacic was doing a lot of tooling there,
Yeah.
like we mentioned earlier, so I kind of like where things are going, where the offense felt a little bit more spread out. Earlier on, we weren't seeing too much Noemi Glover, which I think was fine, because later on that opened it up for her where, okay, now the ball's going either way. The blockers have to be a little bit more on their toes.
Yeah.
I did like that from ASU in general. And my last thing for them, I don't have too much, is that El Matola is a pretty good setter for a freshman, especially
Yeah.
a little bit undersized.
Yeah.
I was liking what I was seeing from her.
Yeah, it was exciting to see. I mean, we mentioned Genevieve Harris as well, and it's really cool to see these setters that are freshmen and they come into a program and already making big impact. Like, it's just really cool to see that they can make that transition, because I'm sure it's very difficult with the level of athletes that you're playing with and how the offenses are running.
Yeah.
But I will say, I was very, very surprised. Not surprised. I was very happy to see how Una Vajacic was able to play. Of course, moving over from Wisconsin to ASU. To me, it was a little bit of a question of how is that offense going to look now moving over. And again, it was a little shaky for Una Vajacic towards the end of the season. They had Trinity Shad Series as kind of playing front row outside for her at times.
Yeah.
And Grace Egan was playing a lot more as well in the front row. But she was taking some really big swings, and she hit, pretty solidly, efficiently, and she was hitting really smart, and she can tool the block. Of course, we kind of knew that from what she was doing at Wisconsin, but it always amazes me how hard she can swing at the ball. When she gets the chance, she definitely will take a big rip.
Especially because she's also a little bit undersized herself, I'd say.
Yeah, but she also plays great defense. She passes well, so I think it honestly is a very good compliment to having a Noemi Glover and kind of balancing out the offense, and then again, still being able to play really good defense for them too.
ASU actually looking pretty solid. I don't have too much else to say about them, but not too bad, especially given what they had to play against in that wonky Texas team.
Yeah, very, very tough to say, but they looked good for sure.
Yeah, but let's move away from those teams, move on to the next one. We're going to have Louisville here, another team that played 2 matches. Their first against Texas A&M. They won that one 3-1, but then they lost on Saturday 0-3 versus Wisconsin. This is another one that had big lineup changes that were very, very shocking to most people, where I don't think, we talked to a couple of other creators, a couple of other people who are really into the volleyball scene. I'm not really sure if everyone predicted that Peyton Peterson was going to be the new libero for this Louisville team.
I don't think anyone did. I thought the only question was like, oh, how's Brooke Baltimore going to do as the middle that's replacing Kara Cressy? At least that was the question for me. But Peyton Peterson being the libero was not on the bingo list. But man, did she actually play really well. You could see the defense, of course, translated. She was playing really well. And the serve receive, she still was serve receiving very well. It's just very interesting to see her not swing anymore.
Yeah, she had some really good plays. I think one that stuck out to me while it happened, where I was like, all right, this is going to actually work out with her as a libero, was she had to run to the right, make a diving play to get a ball up, and then the ball got blocked, I believe, on the attack that happened afterwards, and she was running back the other way. She came over and then set the ball after it got after someone saved it, after it got recycled. And then, she made a really nice set off that, running back and forth. It was really cool. I think she did a really good job in that libero position.
Yeah.
I'm just sad we won't get to see her attack. We did see her swing at a ball one time where she had to do a standing roll. It looked like she really wanted to rip it, but she just had to go, all right, I guess.
Just a down ball.
Yeah,
just a regular down ball.
That was a very crazy thing from Louisville, just as a general statement.
And, let's talk about the reason why she moved over to that libero spot. Chloe Meester, I thought she looked really good, and she redshirted last year, so we didn't really get to see her play. But it was a very good addition for them, and having her healthy and being able to play, she looked really good. I thought a really physical attacker that was able to take really big swings. And she kind of complements Chloe Chacoin and being able to take big rips at the ball. Of course, Chloe Chacoin can also do that. But having, Chloe Chacoin's defense as well, and Chloe Meester not have to worry about that as much and just take big rips at the ball, I thought it really helped her out. She looked pretty comfortable already, and this was only her first 2 matches. So I'm excited to see how she does moving on.
Yeah, I think for her specifically, you can see it in just the block being a lot bigger, where she's 6'3".
Yeah.
And I guess you would say that she is replacing Peyton Peterson on the outside, and that block from Peyton Peterson isn't the best. I think Peyton Peterson is maybe 6'4", 5'11", somewhere around there. So
I think so. 6
yeah.
foot.
Yeah, and you're getting just a better block from Chloe Meester, which I think may be important for Louisville in the ACC. I think Chloe Meester, not too bad of a debut. I do want to see how things happen when, I don't think that they faced any too clutch momenty in either of these sets, or everything ended up going to Chloe Chacoin when it did.
Yeah.
But I want to see her in a couple more high pressure situations, because they kind of just ended up beating Texas A&M, who we'll get to, didn't look that great. And then versus Wisconsin, they kind of just got overwhelmed a little bit. They were still, of course, competitive, but they just didn't look on the same level as Wisconsin, because Wisconsin was playing great.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how it goes moving forward. I think Chloe Chacoin, though, she played amazing, kind of just like you would expect from her, honestly. Her offense was looking very, very good.
Yeah.
I wonder if she's going to be able to keep up this leveled up offense where she is really efficient, low error, and taking big rips at the ball. I think that is kind of a question that we had last year of how far can Peyton Peterson and Chloe Chacoin kind of take them with that offense when you have to set the pin, and it's not just set the ball to Kara Cressy and let her just destroy the ball, because she was that talented. But she looked really good offensively, and of course I thought the defense was looking great. Serve receive was also very solid, so great to see kind of how she evolves. She definitely looks a lot more comfortable with Louisville. They mentioned that a lot on the broadcast too, where now it's her second year at Louisville, and it's not just her first year trying to fit in.
I think she looked fine last year, honestly.
She did. I
thought they were overstating it, at least on the broadcast. I was like, hang on.
Yeah, but I do think she looked comfortable, and she looked like she was able to be herself and be kind of loud and as passionate as she usually is. So I was liking what I was seeing from her, for sure.
Yeah, I think, of course, she played really, really well. I have no big comments on her besides that, again, she's going to be one of the top outsides in the country. But like you mentioned, replacing Kara Cressy's production, we looked at Brooke Boltima here, and I think we got to talk about her, because at least versus Texas A&M, she had a really, really good game where we were all thinking oh my God, wait a second, they're gonna do the same thing just through Brooke Boltima, and then
it looked like it was gonna work.
Yeah, and then they played against Wisconsin, came back down to earth a little bit, and I was like, all right, I guess we gotta hold on a little bit. It's not gonna be quite the same level, because Kara Cressy is that good.
Yeah, and I am curious how that identity is gonna kind of shift, or how that's going to evolve after last year, and how often they were looking to set her and Kara Cressy. But of course, that first match against A&M, it looked very similar. What they were going to run the ball through the middle, and she was going to score super efficiently. Of course, we also had Hannah Sherman, who she played solidly. I don't think she played great either.
But they did sub her out for McCoon in that second game versus Wisconsin. Granted, everyone was struggling in the game, so they had to try something. But she just played all right this weekend.
Yeah, but Brooke Baltimore had ups and downs, looked really good, and then not as great in that Wisconsin game. But we kind of saw what she was like last year, and I think she is able to level up from there, where she will be a very positive thing for Louisville in the middle. And we just have to see how that develops, and we can kind of see how the offense goes, because Calissa Blackshear, again, was a player that also had a lot of ups and downs. We thought at moments looked very, very good. Like ACC freshman, looked amazing, but also had her moments where it looked like she was struggling to score on that right side.
Yeah, definitely didn't look last year as fully comfortable being on that right side instead of the middle. Mm-hmm. This year, she's looking a little bit more comfortable taking those swings, but they're still doing the same thing where different serve receptions especially, we'll just have her come into the middle, hit a 2-ball or something like that.
Yeah, I believe it's receive 1 that they do that, and I like it. It kind of opens up the game, and it's kind of interesting. They just run a high 2-ball in the middle, and then they run I believe it's Brooke Baltimore on the slide, and I think it's been working. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of funny, and last year they did a lot too. It was just kind of the go-to play to set that 2-ball. But if she's hitting that efficiently on that 2-ball, I think you might as well do it. If other teams aren't adjusting to it, I think you just keep running it until a team decides that they want to stop it. Yeah, because she was scoring.
She was playing amazing. It's super fun to watch her and continue to see her play really well. Now, in our other episode, I did mention maybe hopefully seeing her play some back row, get a little bit of that back row offense going. We did not see that at all. I don't think that's going to be happening now, especially with Peyton Peterson moving on to libero.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of DSs for Louisville where you want to see them play. You want that good defense in. Calissa Blackshear, probably not a good defender, so I don't think she's going to be seeing much backcourt at all.
Yeah, and then we can move on. Let's go over to Niles Cabello.
This is a big one.
I thought offensively she was running some really good options and the system was looking really good. I will say though, and I think this is probably the biggest thing, is how offensive she is and how much she tries to score, which I think is very good. I really like that she's aggressive.
I'm a little bit more iffy on it because of the extent that she goes to it. She's definitely the most offensive setter that we saw this entire weekend. And at times, it did get a little bit predictable. Granted, she did score a lot, so all the credit to her. But sometimes I was like, all right, you're overcooking a little bit. They knew that one was coming, and she also kind of like shows it pretty early.
She does. I don't mind it when it's aggressive and it's more of an actual one hand,
like power.
Dumping this way with power or going two hands with power. We've seen other setters throughout this weekend that were doing that. Mm-hmm. But when you go two hands and you're off the net and you're kind of just setting it over the net, even if it is deceptive, I don't think she's very great at that, just because she does show it very early. Mm-hmm. We kind of mentioned it every time we saw it during the games. We were like, oh, she's going to dump it.
And then she did, and then the other team also figured it out. Even when they didn't, we were like, okay, now they know, and then the next times they did know.
Yeah, so with a grain of salt, I like it, but I think she has to choose her battles a little bit more carefully and a little bit more strategically. And knowing that, hey, she is one of the best athletes at the setting spot, that she should use her athleticism when she can and be aggressive, be powerful with her options on two. And then I don't know if she has to do as much of the deception stuff. I don't think it works out as much. But hey, she has still been able to be solidly efficient. She'll probably do it again this year. Yeah. I'd just like to see it when she's more aggressive with it and more powerful. I think that's just going to be even better offensively for them.
Yeah, there are some other setters where they have to do it with the two-hand dumping it like deceptively over. Yeah. Where they don't really have the one-handed power tips in their bag anyways, so that's the only way that they can get the offense in. But for Niles Cabello, she has a really strong dump, so why not just keep it that way and maybe not overcook a little bit too much? But I think I wanted to bring this up when we talked about her, where this feels like a broader NCAA women's volleyball thing right now, where the setters this weekend felt super offensive just in general. Yeah. There was a lot of dumping going on, a lot more than I expected, and it felt like almost every team was doing it. Yeah. Where it's like, okay, I think especially when you where you don't have a right side playing back row, you really want to start getting in some offense from the setter, because you don't have a D-ball that anyone has to worry about. Yeah. You need to make sure that those blockers aren't just sitting on your middles, and it's interesting. I'd say for a lot of teams it does work out, but sometimes it's started to make things a little bit too predictable.
Yeah, I think it's all down to execution, and we've seen that the top setters are able to make it work. One of the top setters is Izzy Stark, and we'll get to her when we talk about Pitt, but she doesn't have to do that as much. Yeah, she's all you have Olivia Babcock. But we saw it with Charlie Furbringer. She did really, really great. She had an amazing offensive game. But Niles Cabello, to me, is one of the players that can teeter that of, hey, we are going to have a DS for our right side, so I have to be aggressive. And she can make it work. Yep. Again, I think it's just be more timely about it, and I think kind of stick with her guns of what works. And I think it's pretty obvious. I think most people, when you see her play, she's an insane athlete, right? Yeah. She reaches very high. She's still very tall. She's super powerful. I think she has to stick with that, and she'll still be really efficient scoring the ball. And I think that really helps add a layer to this Louisville team that I think can make them definitely more difficult to defend, especially kind of seeing this new wrinkle of how Chloe Meester is looking offensively, and then we know what we're going to get from Chloe Chicoine.
Especially when the offense from the left side is working really well. You get that a little bit of extra offense from your setter. Yeah. Things start to work out a little bit better. Maybe they'll start freeing up things for the middle a little more, and Brooke Boltma especially will have a better, I guess, game than she did against Wisconsin. She'll have more A&M type games than Wisconsin type games in terms of how those matchups worked out.
Yeah, and I think it just opens up the game, especially for a Chloe Chicoine, where there are times where, hey, out of system, you do have the worry of, oh, is she going to be able to score as efficiently as she does in system? But if she gets hot and you get her more one-on-ones, being super aggressive, which I think it almost always happens when a setter dumps, even if they get dug, the next time they set and it's tight, both blockers are going to be going up with them.
We did see a little bit of that.
You get a one-on-one from the outside, and then Chloe Chicoine is going to get a kill on that all day. And I think that could be really, really helpful for them. So we'll see kind of how that develops.
And I think now it's time for my one true overreaction for this Louisville team before we move on. Yeah. I only have one last thing to talk about, and it is the blocking for this Louisville team, because last year, especially with Kara Cressy, they looked like one of the best blocking teams in the nation. Yeah. to start off this weekend, they looked like absolute hot garbage on the block. I was like, oh, especially versus that A&M game, I was like, this is one of the worst blocking games between two teams that I've seen like in a long time. I was like, what is going on? Everything's going through. The blocks are never closed. I was like, what are we watching?
Yeah, they weren't getting a lot of good touches, not a lot of positive touches either. But honestly, for me, my overreaction was about the passing. And I was very, that's not what I was thinking I was going to be thinking when I was watching a Louisville team that we thought they were passing the ball pretty well last year. You had the same passers pretty much, but then of course it switched. Camden Strand was not the libero anymore, and it was Peyton Peterson, but they still had rotations where it was those three as the passers. And man, sometimes the passing and the serve reception just was not looking as consistent as it was last year. So to me, that was a problem. I was thinking, if you're not in system, that is definitely Louisville's strength because of the offense that they're able to run and what Nylis Cabello can do, especially when she's in the front row. But if you can't do that and you're not passing in system, I definitely had concerns about that. So we'll see if they are going to be able to fix it or
if this is just another big issue that they're going to have to figure out throughout the season.
Yeah.
Those are definitely two big overreactions that are kind of compound on each other where it's like, okay, you don't have good serve reception and you don't have good blocking. You're leaving your defenders out to dry. It's not looking great for your team.
Yeah. All that being said, though, they still went 1-1. So we had to take that with a grain of salt. But it is overreactions.
Yeah. Hey, part of that overreaction for me, Texas A&M looked also really bad. But first up, we'll just move on to the next team. We won't have to hate too much because of this Wisconsin team that played pretty solid. They played against Kentucky, where they did lose, but then they came back and won very dominantly versus Louisville. And I think there's a lot of positive things to take away from this week for Wisconsin, even though they did lose 3-0 to Kentucky in that first game.
Yeah, and to me, you have to start with Charlie Furbringer, the captain of this team. And they have a lot of really great pieces, and I feel that she really is showing that she's one of the best setters in the country. And I felt that last year. I felt that even with her freshman year, she looked so amazing. But man, does she look like she is in a groove. She is able to get her players in a rhythm. And it's hard to do with different pieces, and they're moving around. I mean, you had two freshmen that were playing a lot in the front row offensively, and she made it work. She got them comfortable, especially going into that second match. So I really am applauding what she's been able to do. I really like it. She runs the middle very, very well. Of course, you have two good middles that you have to work with, but she's making it work, and then she was able to get the pin starting to go.
Yeah, Charlie Furbringer definitely looked really good. I will say she had some moments where I was like, whoa, the location of the sets is getting a little bit shaky, but I'll say like 80 to 90% of the time, if not more, things were looking absolutely perfect and stellar from her. Like all-American first team type of level, where I think she probably just will be this year. So really, really good from Charlie Furbringer. I think if she just starts to pick up those little location errors that she's making, she will be in the contention for best setter in the nation, where she isn't quite there yet for me. I have a couple setters over her where I'm like...
It's tough.
Especially this weekend. Well, we'll get to it very shortly, but there's a player where I'm like, okay, I think she's a better setter.
It's a tough conversation to have. I mean, there's so many great setters, which it's a really great problem to have for the U.S. as we move on to what their aspirations are if they do want to go pro eventually and things like that.
Team.
But we're still in college. But I will say, and I mentioned earlier with Nylis Cabello, offensively, Charlie Furbringer did have a really great game against Louisville, and that was really exciting to see. I'm really curious to see how that evolves for her, if she's going to continue to do that and be that aggressive. I mean, she had 6 kills. Of course, it was with 12 attempts. She had 2 errors with that, so it was 333 for efficiency. But as a setter, I feel like it was a really great option to have, and it definitely made Louisville have a tougher time defending, and it opened things up a lot.
I'll say it felt like almost part of it was a little bit reactionary to just Nylis Cabello, where Nylis Cabello was just dumping so much that Charlie Furbringer was like, all right, you know what? I got to make sure I do it a little bit too. I got to get my get back. And of course, she did. I think she actually hides it a lot better.
She was very, very smart with it.
So, some of the ones where Charlie Furbringer was dumping, I was like, whoa! I did not see that coming. Like, whoa, that was really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, she had the one, and again, there's the controversy about the rules, and you were talking about it while we were watching the games this weekend. But where she had a tight pass, and she went with both hands and dumped it straight down. Of course, to me, it looks very clean, but it is kind of a weird gray area about the rules of, is that a carry? I don't know. Well, let's not get into the weeds of that.
Yeah, but for college, that is completely legal. I think, just to speak on it really quickly, it's just in general, all players were doing this entire weekend.
Yeah.
It's so weird to see it after VNL where they did make those types of rule changes where they're like, yeah, don't two end up.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing it back to college where those rules don't apply. I'm like, oh, it's so jarring to see all of this happening again.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all.
And then to me, the second player to talk about, I actually want to talk about Audrey Flanagan.
We have to. Oh my God.
I was so excited to see how she was going to look going into the season. As a freshman, that first match was very tough to see just because you're going against Kentucky. They were in the national championship last year as a runner-up. And it was really exciting to see that she was taking some big swings. And she didn't look afraid of the moment. She has a demeanor to herself that she is just very calm and she's kind of used to these types of things. And I mean, she didn't feel like a freshman to me watching her, especially in that match. But even more so in the Louisville match. She looked even better. Offensively, she definitely cleaned it up. Super efficient. She had 13 kills. It looked really great. And I thought her serve receive was still quite solid. It's not like they were able to pick on her and she wasn't passing well. She was doing solid enough. And then she had some pretty good serves as well. Overall, really great debut for me.
Yeah, this is where my overreaction is coming in. I already think she's a big runner for freshman of the year. I thought she was playing that well and just she looked so experienced already.
Yeah.
Of course, there's still a couple of freshman moments that happen, but for her, especially relative to all the other freshmen we saw this weekend, I thought she was playing so good, and we still have a long season out of us where she's only going to get better. I think that's my big overreaction. I think she's going to be freshman of the year, national freshman of the year.
She really looked like the most well-adjusted freshman so far. That at least when I think about it right now. She looked very calm. It felt like she had been there before and she wasn't a freshman. So I think that's amazing to see.
And this was her acting, especially in that Louisville game, as like the main offensive focal point.
Yeah.
Where that's just super impressive for any freshman to do.
Yeah.
So I just have insanely high hopes for her. I don't know if any other freshman is going to be put even in this situation to play this well. And she is stepping up to the moment.
Yeah. I think
so good.
And I think it shows that Kelly Sheffield really does believe in her. And it's great to see because, man, does she look really good already. So I am really excited to see how she does. I think she definitely can carry on the mantle of those really great outsides right now. I mean, it looks like she will be able to do that. We'll see how it goes throughout the season. I don't know. It's difficult to compare Sarah Franklin and Mimi Collier before because... the last we thought about them was National Player of the Year, Sarah Franklin, and then Mimi Collier was one of the semifinalists. It's hard to compare that.
Yeah.
But Audrey Flanagan did look really great. But to me, again, you got to talk about another really great addition, Jayla Auguste. In the middle, to me, is a perfect fit to go to Wisconsin. Having a setter that loves to run the middle and is going to look for opportunities for you, to me, it's a perfect fit. She looks great. The chemistry with Charlie Furbringer already looks like they've nailed this down. They were able to run slides, sets in front of the setter. They were getting everything working. And then, of course, she can also still block the ball really well.
Yeah, first off, her blocking was absolutely elite this entire weekend. Secondly, oh my God, you could tell exactly why she wanted to transfer to Wisconsin because she was getting fed the ball a ton. And you were like, okay, yeah, any middle that gets set this much, you got to be happy with this. Because, oh my God, she does not quite fit the Wisconsin, you want really, really tall middles.
Yeah.
But you could see that she was getting used as if she was tall because she plays so big.
Yeah, I believe she's 6'2", 6'3", maybe. But she does play like she is like a taller middle, like a 6'5". I mean, we can even compare it to Lenny Tarnow, the freshman that they have right now, who also looked amazing. But it's just so fun to watch a player be able to succeed and the transfer portal really work out for them in the volleyball aspect of it as well. Yeah. So very excited to see how she does because, man, I mean, right now she's looking like one of the best middles in the country.
Yeah. She is a key player to watch as we move on. But let's talk about that other middle and that other freshman. We have Lenny Tarnow, where she didn't necessarily get that start at the beginning of that Kentucky game, but they had to sub her in, and then she started to run away with that role because she was looking well-seasoned in the middle as well.
Yeah, that offense was looking very good. They had a very tough time. Kentucky and Wisconsin Kentucky and Louisville also had pretty tough time trying to stop her. I will say, I think you saw some freshman moments kind of come out where situational awareness or playing the ball, keeping it on your side. I thought that happened a little bit here and there, but I think the blocking is also something that I'm curious how that's going to evolve for her. I think it's very difficult to make that adjustment to college of the systems that are in play and how fast the game is. We'll have to see how she adjusts to that. But offensively, man, she's doing great. So you can't be mad at that at all.
Yeah, that would be my one thing with her, where it's just like, oh yeah, on the block, she just needs to be a little bit faster. There's still some gaps in the blocking that Jayla August, especially when you contrast them. Jayla August is not leaving those same like holes, but Linny Tarnow is just also, she has those tiny holes that Kentucky was able to take good advantage of, and for Louisville, Chloe Chacoin a little bit was able to also take advantage of those. So
yeah, I think it's just being able to read and react a little bit better to that college system and how those college offenses are looking. But I think she's going to be able to do it. She really is looking really great. I'm really excited to see how this Wisconsin team is going to look, because I was high on them when we were going through that preseason and we're talking about teams. I really liked how they were looking. So yeah. I'm even more excited now seeing how the freshmen are playing.
Yeah, let's keep talking about the freshmen. We have Anna Bardaro, where she's one of those players where she's technically a freshman. She's coming a little bit older, so yeah, that it is what it is. But we'll count her as a freshman.
Yes.
She is coming in. She also did not get that libero position to start off. She did end up taking it over, and she had it for the entire full Louisville game. And I think that's probably going to be her position to keep for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like a more natural fit. She was making a lot of plays, and she looked very aggressive, and I think that's pretty much what you want to see, especially from a libero.
Yeah, her setting was also really good.
Yeah, that's new to the program, and she adjusted very well to it. Yeah, I think the out-of-system setting is super important, and she was doing really well with that, so I think that definitely helps for her and taking that spot. But again, they're able to still run Kristen Simon and have her in the back row when they run a DS anyways. Yeah. So I think it's still a bonus for them that they still have both of them out there a good amount of the time. So you get to see both of them. They both are able to have solid impact and positive impact on the game. I think Anna Bardaro might just be a little bit more seasoned with all the pro play that she's been able to have in Italy. So we'll have to see how that develops. I am kind of curious to see how it goes, because we know Kelly Sheffield really does like how Kristen Simon plays. I mean, she's fantastic.
She did start as the libero in that first match.
Yeah, but having Anna Bardaro and that addition is a really great wrinkle to have, and I think it just kind of helps them be a deeper team, and you don't really think about that with defense and liberos and DSs, but I think it's very important, and I think it's working out.
But let's talk about one thing that she couldn't really do, and this will transition to the next player, where we have Grace Lopez coming in to serve for her instead. And this is another one of these topspin servers that you're seeing. They want to take advantage of topspin now. A lot of these teams in NCAA. Grace Lopez is here. She's topspin serving. It looks pretty solid. Also fairly high error, low-key, but it's not the worst. When it goes in, it actually looks pretty solid.
Yeah.
It's just finding that same level of consistency. Like, okay, how often are you going to get it in? How often are you going to miss?
Yeah, and it's hard to say because I'm still not really sure where she's at with her health. I mean, she has to be somewhat healthy if she's at least playing and she's serving. So
she also only serve subbed this weekend.
Yeah.
Where before the second game, it was as the libero. The first game, she just straight up started off the match serving. If they rotated out, she immediately just left.
Yeah, so I'm curious what that's going to look like for her. And the last we've seen of her, she was amazing. So I'm curious to see how this kind of develops for her, especially even just later into this season, just because when you brought her in, the expectation was for her to be that right side, kind of a 1-2 punch with Mimi Collier and having Carter Booth. I thought that was going to be a home run hit. But now kind of seeing her just serving sub was not necessarily a shock, but I wasn't thinking that was just going to be her role right now. We'll have to see if that evolves at some point, but we could talk about the other Grace Egan.
Yeah.
I think that is the other pin taking that right side spot.
Yeah.
And it is up and down, but I will say as an overall volleyball player, we kind of know that she's been able to do that. She did that last year very well. Even when she was playing right side, she's passing, she's serve receiving as the right side, and she still takes big swings. She really does have one of the better arms that you see on that team. She can swing the heck out of the ball. I mean, she's also another player that was topspin serving a little bit, and I think it can work out for her. I think it looks a little bit more comfortable than some of the other players as well, honestly, which is kind of funny.
Everything looks comfortable compared to Texas.
It's not great to say that, but I mean, I'm just saying what I saw. It looked a little bit more comfortable for her.
Yeah, I think we actually saw her have a really good game against Louisville specifically, where I was like, all right, I see the vision now, especially when you had Eva Travis. They're another new transfer for them, playing really well in that first match, where you're like, okay, each of the matches we're seeing someone have a good game. I can see the vision for each of the players here and what their impact's going to be.
Yeah, Ava Travis was really great to watch. I mean, again, like a really great addition for them to have, and it is interesting to see how that left side is developing and having the really great freshman Audrey Flanagan, but also Ava Travis being a really great pickup, and to me is a pleasant surprise for Wisconsin that she's gonna take big rips and she's gonna take big swings, and she's super aggressive. Like I feel like every time she was getting set, she was gonna take a big swing. Yeah. She was not gonna shy away from it. So I feel like that's great to have, and. Yeah. I'm pleasantly surprised. I think she's going to be a really good addition for them.
Yeah, she surprised me a lot in that first game versus Kentucky. I was like, whoa, I did not expect you to be balling out like this. My bad.
Yeah, and I really think that, and this is just, overarching for Wisconsin as we wrap it up for them, I think it really is going to come down to how the freshmen do, and then how does the transfers play, because it is really going to come down to them. We know what to expect from their other players, but how high can Audrey Flanagan, Jayla Gus, and how high can even Ava Travis and Anna Bardaro, can they elevate this team even more? And
I mean, they're the ones taking all these big positions, honestly.
And I really do think they can go really high. Mm-hmm. I think right now they look like a very dangerous team. It really just is, can they do it consistently, and will they be peaking at the right time like they did last year, right? Last year was an amazing run for them, making that national semifinal. I think they definitely have an argument for that this year as well.
That'll take us on to the next team here. We're going to talk about Kentucky. This one is a little bit hard to overreact to because they looked super, super good against Wisconsin, but then they played against Pitt. They kind of got bodied. I was like, whoa, Pitt looks just on another level compared to them.
Yeah.
But Kentucky also looked on another level compared to Wisconsin. So it's like, how do we want to rate what Kentucky did? I'll say that, first of all, Brooklyn DeLay and Morgan Gardy, they look really, really good, especially being on the two opposite pins. When they're in the front row together, things look really dangerous. I'm like, whoa, what are you supposed to do as a blocker? As a defender, you're like, oh, God.
Yeah,
if they set
cooked.
Either pin,
You're kind of cooked.
Yeah.
But I really love what they're able to do with Morgan Gardy right now. Mm-hmm. Cassie O'Brien is finding her and being aggressive with it now, too. Finding that comfortability and knowing when she can set her and just let her go and take a big swing. And then you still have Brooklyn DeLay. I really love how Brooklyn DeLay has been playing right now. She's super aggressive, and she's still passing well. I really like how she's looking. And she's back to the top spin serve. She was definitely known for that 2 years ago. And I feel like she was one of the main players that was actually doing it 2 years ago.
Yeah, she made it look good. It's like, okay. And everyone else is like, yeah, we got to do that.
And then now she's back to it, and it's looking good. I mean, they were talking ad nauseum about her torn meniscus, and she didn't tell anyone about it. I don't know how much that is true. I don't know. But if she's healthy, she's looking good, she's playing great. So if that's how it is, I love it. This is definitely going to be a bonus then.
Yeah, things didn't look as good against Pitt, but I can chalk that up to Pitt just looking really, really good. And it's not like they played horrible versus Pitt. They did take a set still, but things look really good offensively for them with those two pins. My biggest question for them is going to be kind of like Asia Thigpen or Georgia Watson, like kind of what's happening there on the outside. What exactly are you going to do there? Because for both of them, it didn't seem like either was particularly working too well.
Yeah. To me, that's the biggest question is who is that other left side, and what is that going to look like at the end of the season? I think that really is the point that matters, how far they go this season. Because I think everything else is looking really great. Cassie O'Brien has leveled up her game again. She's looking like a great setter in her sophomore year. Molly Tuzzo, we already know what to expect. Lizzie Carr has been still super efficient. She's scoring the ball really well. She's blocking really well. But that other pin really does matter. And a part of me was wishing, imagine if Morgan Gardy was there last year with Eva Hudson. I'm like, man, that would have been an insane team.
Yeah.
That team would have been ridiculous.
That offense would have been so gross.
But now it really does matter of who that left side is going to be. Or are they going to experiment a little bit of, hey, can we move Morgan back to the outside? I don't think that's going to happen, but we're 2 matches in, so I don't know what. There's a lot of time left.
They got time to cook up something, especially when technically that's her primary position is playing the outside.
Yeah.
That's what she was playing before coming to Kentucky. And then also Asia Thigpen did look good on the right side last year. That was her position last year. So maybe you want to try it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a big question for Coach Skinner and then the rest of the staff of how do you figure out that other pin spot, or is Georgia Watson going to be able to step up, or I don't know. We even thought, hey, was it just a bad matchup for Kentucky against Pitt, having Olivia Babcock, and Morgan has to play on the outside kind of just to block Olivia Babcock, and that's just a better matchup. So I'm curious how that's going to evolve for them. I really do think that's, that other left side is going to determine how far they're going to be able to go.
Yeah, that's going to be the big question for them. And like we said, middle's looking pretty solid. Liz
Yeah.
Carr really good in that game against Wisconsin, especially against Pitt. They weren't able to find her as much. She kind of got shut down a little bit, but I think that was a general thing going on with Kentucky that entire match. So yeah, we'll have to see for them. Anything else for Kentucky?
No, I mean, it's kind of everything that you would expect. Like I was kind of saying earlier, all the players that are the marquee players for that team were playing well, and they're doing what you expect. I guess the consistency of a broken delay of having that switch of, yes, you don't have Eva Hudson, but you were able to replace with Morgan Gardy, but that dynamic, because I thought they built a great friendship last year, and you kind of saw it on the court, off the court, you knew it was happening as well, and I'm curious kind of how that is going to go moving forward for Brooklyn Delay, because, I mean, hey, maybe she does put on the backpack and looks really good, and she carries that offensive load and is able to make it work anyways. I mean, that could definitely happen as well. I guess there is a little bit of concern with that Pitt match of, she was high air in that match. I don't know if she's going to be able to do that against all the top teams as well. It's just a tough ask.
Yeah, that'll be the biggest questions because Pitt is going to be one of their biggest competitors when going for that national championship. And with that, let's just move straight on to Pitt because this is probably my overreaction a little bit. But oh my God, Izzy Stark is looking absolutely amazing. I can't believe we missed her out last year. Just not playing. Oh my God, she looks so good. She's looking like the best setter in the country right now, or at least one of the best setters. The way that she was able to just get the offense flowing. She had the opposing blockers on their heels. They had no idea what to do. Some of the sets that she had to Olivia Babcock were surprising us.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be a surprise because who's not going to set the ball to Olivia Babcock?
Yeah.
But there's the execution of it. We're like, whoa, what's happening?
Yeah, and it was so fun watching her in her freshman year, and it's crazy to think that she's actually a junior now because that...
Yeah, we just missed a year.
Yeah, it wasn't a redshirt year for her last year. But man, does she look like she is in form right away. I mean, there, of course, were a little bit of times of where, oh, maybe it's a little tight or a little off the net or whatever. But for the most part, she was making fantastic sets. And it isn't surprising when you think about it because what she was doing in her freshman year, she's doing it again, and it looks just as refined. And, I mean, for her age, she looks so great. And I'm kind of curious to see, where do we go from here? It already looks really good, and they were able to set Olivia Babcock a lot. I'm kind of curious, where do they go with the other offensive options now that, maybe can they run the middle even more with having an Izzy Stark? Does that help you out? Or how are the other pins looking? Because they definitely have a lot of firepower. And I think to me, that's going to determine how good Izzy Stark is really going to be. Because, I mean, yes, you have to be really good to set Olivia Babcock really well, but also it's Olivia Babcock. So you give her the ball, she's going to score a lot of time anyways.
Yeah.
Can she elevate the other players? I think to me, that's going to be, oh yeah, Izzy Stark is for sure the real deal. She already is, but if she can make the other players even better, I think that's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I think this was the part where it's a little bit harder to tell because Blair Bayless was already looking pretty solid last year. She had another 2 good games right here this weekend. Now we can move on to how Izzy Stark and those freshmen are kind of working together. We have Ayana Watson.
Wow.
Just talking about her first. Oh my God, she's another one of these freshman outsides that's looking like a vet.
Yeah.
If you did not know who she was, you would not think, oh, that's a freshman.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh yeah, that's one of their experienced outsides. She's probably was there last year.
Yeah, I think the only thing for her is how that passing is going to be for her and serve receive. But offensively, she looks exactly like like what I was saying about Audrey Flanagan. Mm-hmm. The calm, taking big rips and not being scared of the moment. She was doing all of that and then some. So again, just one of the other freshmen that I'm just so surprised of. And she really was looking really good. Some really great serves as well.
Yeah.
I think that's something that is a really great bonus for this Pitt team. Having some extra firepower, that could really help them out.
I think Pitt has solved a little bit of their outside consistency on the offensive end, where they were looking for that last year. They found it now, it seems.
I think they found their pair.
Yeah, so this is really nice for Pitt here. I'm liking what I'm seeing, at least offensively from the outsides to the middles. Mikey Heilig is also looking pretty good. I wasn't expecting to see her fully take over like she did, but she came out, she played really well. She earned that spot being the main middle blocker for Pitt.
Yeah, and it's very interesting to see as she moved over and from international play. I'm curious to see how that develops of how much they run the middle. I was kind of mentioning that with Izzy Stark, but she looks like she can definitely dominate the middle if you give her enough opportunity. She's blocking really well too. I mean, it felt like she was there on every set for Kentucky. She was doing a really good job reading.
Yeah.
But offensively, I mean, she's hitting 100 right now. So can you send her more? I mean, just test the waters. When is it going to be that she doesn't hit 100? When is that first error and not a kill going to happen? Because I mean, she's she's doing really well so far, but it is only 2 matches and she's only taken 7 swings, so we'll see.
Now we can move on to the next part of Pitt's game where it's the passing and also kind of that libero position where that's where I'm having a couple more questions with how's Pitt going to end up looking, because the 3 DS/libero positions, Trinity Thompson, Mallory Meyer, and Izzy Masden, just all of them across the board, I was not like too impressed compared to maybe some of the other liberos and DSs that we're seeing from these other teams. I was like,
yeah,
all right, they're looking fine, but Izzy Stark is still having to make a lot of big setting plays, running off the net, flinging the ball out with pace. And I feel like maybe you didn't notice because Izzy Stark was making all these big plays, but the passing wasn't that great.
Yeah, I do think that is going to matter a lot for them. I'm kind of just going to stick with what I thought as a theme for them of just how well can Izzy Stark elevate the offense for everyone else. But I think that is going to be a huge part of it. Can they pass well enough that you can run the middle, right? I mean, I was just hyping up Mikey Helig a lot, and I was hoping that she could get set more. But if you can't pass it, then you're not going to be able to set her. So that is definitely a legit concern.
Granted, maybe, we'll start to see Izzy Stark making some big plays, start flinging the ball to the middle, running those like from the 10-foot line or a little bit further off to just that 31. Maybe we'll steal a little bit more of that, but now it's feeling like a little bit of an issue.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some of the other teams. I mean, Kentucky was one of the teams that was trying to be more experimental and running the middle pretty aggressively.
Yeah, launch that.
And I think they definitely could make that work, especially with Mikey Helig. I think she's a good enough athlete, and Izzy Stark is a great enough setter that they can make it work. We just have to see if they're going to go out and do it.
But now let's move on to the next team. We have Texas A&M here. And we just got to start it off by saying, take everything we say with a grain of salt, because Kendall Stowers was out. So they did have to field basically a fully new team of players that did not play for Texas A&M actively last year. Yeah. Besides like Addie Applegate.
And Megan Fitch.
And Megan Fitch, who saw a little bit of play time. Addie Applegate, also same thing where she just got that DS time, and she's still DSing, but it's a lot of new blood for this Texas A&M team.
Yeah, and I mean, it just sucks that Kendall Stowers wasn't able to go, and it happened during warm-ups. But I understand it's your back, and that really does affect pretty much everything that you do. So I understand that you sit her, you want to just be careful, especially with her history with injuries. So, and it's the first 2 games. Hopefully she's back soon.
Yeah, this isn't even conference play yet. Yeah. You can take it a little bit slow. Make sure you don't injure anything extra for her.
Yeah, and hopefully she will be able to bounce back and we get to see her out on the court again, because I mean, she's just that caliber of player. But I will say I'm very pleasantly surprised from the other players. I mean, especially Megan Fitch. Stepping into that role of, hey, let's just see what you can do as kind of the one-of-one replacement to Kendall Stowers, and she kind of made it work. Yeah. She was taking big rips when it was there, and then she was also tooling the block. I swear, she tooled the block like 5 times.
I was like, okay, I see you, Megan Fitch. I see what you're doing. You're actually playing pretty well.
Yeah, so it was an interesting weekend for Texas A&M for that first serve. They lost both games, but I think there is some positives to take away from it. I mean, the fact that they look already like that their level of play is already at this point in their first week, I think that's...
Without Kendall Stowers.
Without Kendall Stowers is not bad to say. I mean, they played against 2 really good teams. Louisville looked quite good, and SMU, we'll talk about them later, that they also played really well. So kind of tough to gauge them right now without Kendall Stowers, but there are some really good pieces that are playing pretty well.
Yeah, I think for me, my big overreaction, and I was on this before the season started. I was telling all of the other creators, Gabby Rodriguez is going to be the libero to watch out for.
Yeah.
Everyone did not believe me, at least to the extent that I was hyping it up. But watching her during these games, she is her. She is making these big plays. I swear to God, she made like 5 of these running, diving to the right side backwards, like one-arm plays to get the ball up.
Yeah.
Her range is absolutely crazy. On serve reception, she's pretty solid. Not like perfect, but pretty solid as well. But defensively, she is already elite for the NCAA.
Yeah, I mean, she adjusted so fast. In her first match, I swear she made like 4 of those digs going to the corner with one hand. And I was like, oh, I guess she just like does that all the time, I guess.
Yeah, just a cash.
Yeah, that's the new standard for her. And she's setting that very early on. And we were able to see that she can do it consistently, and she's able to make a lot of great ups. I think to see going forward is, of course, the passing. Can she be more consistent with that? And also, I think the out-of-system setting. It's not that it was bad, but I mean, she is still only a freshman, and
you can see a little bit better. Yeah,
her defense was amazing, and then if she can set a little bit better, I think that makes it even better for her. But very, very impressive. And like, Of course, she's probably not going to get the Freshman of the Year. I think it's always tough for a libero to win
But
awards.
she should be in the race. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be her number one fan this season.
I know sometimes the SEC, or not SEC especially, particularly, but certain conferences at times I feel like they have like positional awards and stuff like that. If they had an award for it for the SEC, I'm not sure. I can't remember from last year. Mm-hmm. If they do have a libero of the year,
think they do.
She's got a decent shot at it with the way that she's playing right now. I know you have like a Ramsey Carey and Molly Tuzzo, and you have other great liberos in the SEC, but man, is she looking really good right away? And it was so impressive.
I'm telling you guys. I was telling everyone. I was telling you, the viewer. Watch out for Gabby Rodriguez. I'm gonna be riding for her this entire season, especially if she continues to play like this.
Yeah, I think after that, we have to talk about Natalie Ring. She was the big transfer that you were able to pick up from actually another team that was playing in First Serve from Marquette. And she had a great tournament from last year. I thought that was a really great coming out party for the rest of the nation to kind of see her. Even for me in particular, I didn't know too much about her until I saw her in the tournament. And she was playing amazing then. She is still taking really big swings right now. I'm kind of curious to see how it looks when you do have Kendall Stowers back. But right now, she's very much like a boomer bust type of outside right now with she's either swinging for the kill or she's going to have that error, either getting blocked or hitting it out. I'm kind of curious where that risk and reward is going to go and finding that balance. But she's willing to take big swings. Do not get that twisted.
Yeah, I'll say I think there was like a mixed reaction about her play where some people were hyping her up a lot. She's like, yeah, she's going to be just like having two Kendall Stowers on this team. She's just going to be as good offensively and you're going to have no issues. And on the other hand, some other people were like, okay, like she's a little bit overrated. She's not going to like, stepping up from one conference to this conference is going to be a big difference. You didn't see quite the same level of play. And I think we're somewhere in the middle there where she's playing pretty solid, but again, there's a lot more errors that maybe she didn't have to deal with last year, or she wasn't playing against the same level of competition that would force those errors.
Yeah.
Where I think she just has to figure it out. It's still a little bit up in the air for me on how she's going to turn out playing for this Texas A&M team and if she can really be like a superstar level player.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm saying she's like a pretty good player. But
for sure,
not like anything super crazy for Texas A&M. Not like a needle swinger for me.
Yeah, and it all comes down to seeing how she fits with Kendall Stowers. I mean, it's taking everything with a grain of salt with Texas A&M right now.
We're just talking about them right now.
But to me, I think a positive you can say for sure is Taryn Morris right now. Mm-hmm. I think the big question was what it was going to look like on the right side. And losing Logan Lednicki and how great she was. But Taryn Morris has been able to find her way and make her spot on the right side over there for Texas A&M, and she had a really good first two games. I think offensively, she definitely can help spread that offense and kind of maybe mimic what they were able to do last year. I think they have the personnel, maybe not exactly what the names that we're used to, but all these different players kind of fit in a way that they can run a very balanced offense again and figure their way out maybe towards the end of the season again. And hey, if they peak in the national tournament, they could make a big run as well. I honestly won't count it out because seeing how the team is playing, I mean, they're running a 6-2 or a 5-2 right now with a setter playing back row and a setter playing front row, and they're figuring that out as well. But at the end of the season, I'm not surprised if this team is in the Sweet 16, Elite 8, and then maybe even further on.
Yeah, they could push a team, make a couple upsets like the same thing happened last year. And we do have to talk about that 5-2 where they do have two setters. One will play in the front row, and when it's time to go to the back row, they'll switch her out for the other one, which is a very unique take on kind of running your setters. I will say the front row setter, Kira Musgrove, I do like what she's doing offensively. I think she's one of the better offensive setters that we saw this weekend. I think,
lefty.
Yeah, it helps a lot being that lefty where instead of like a lot of the other players, they're power dumping it, they're two-hand dumping it, she's straight up just swinging at the ball.
Yeah. Also, her power dump is just a lot easier with her left hand.
Yeah.
So she's more comfortable for sure.
She gets to do a lot more with power on her attacks, and I think it just looks a lot better than a lot of other teams.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy what they're doing. I guess she can't play back row though. I don't really know how the defense is, but
yeah, I mean, we can only say it from what we've seen so far, but I do really like it. I think that's another wrinkle that makes this Texas A&M team to me feel even more dangerous just because they have that and they have more offensive options to go to. And again, this is all waiting on how Kendall Stowers comes back and plays after how she played last season. But let's talk about that middle duo, right? The middles had a very great first game against Louisville. But SMU is definitely a lot more struggle. They were a lot more high error, way less efficient. But that first match, I think you do have to think about it where if things are running right and they're in a rhythm, they can look really good. Of course, it's again, tough to say when you're thinking Morgan Perkins and Defena Costapala.
That's going to be a tough middle duo to replace.
But they are playing really well. I think they have a chance to make really big impact for the A&M team. Of course, comparing them nationally, I'm not sure how that's going to go.
Yeah. Eliza Sharp was already looking like one of the better offensive middles. I was like, hold up, she might be a beast. And then we played that second game against SMU, and I was like, okay, hold your horses a little bit. I jumped the gun on how good she's going to be, but she's still really good.
Yeah, I think we just have to see how it goes throughout the whole season, but there were a lot of really great things to take out of the middle, which, again, was a position that you're not sure what's going to happen, and you have 2 upperclassmen transfers that are coming in after your 2 middles that you had last year on that run. And, I mean, to start off the season is not a bad transition. Of course, the second game wasn't great, but kind of for the whole team, for most of them, it wasn't a great second match.
But let's move straight on to their opponents in that match. We have SMU as the last main conference team of the episode. And for them, I think the biggest overreaction we could have is that they've done the dang thing again. Sam Egger has done the dang thing. She's rebuilt a team from bottom to top. She's brought in all these transfers, and they're all gelling already and all looking really good. I don't know how she does it.
Yeah, I mean, she's got to be a killer recruiter. I don't know what she's doing.
Yeah.
But she's finding all the right talent. Of course, the big home run hit is Sully Davis.
Yep.
I mean, we can't ignore that. One of the best freshmen last year. She looked amazing, and she is still looking just as good. I think she had moments where she looked even more imposing offensively than she was last year. Mm-hmm. And on that BYU team, she was great. But I'm still waiting, and I was a big fan last year. If you were watching from last season. But Jaden Livings is who I'm waiting for. Krista Wilburn played really well in the front row and for them on the outside. But Jaden Livings is another player that I'm just curious what it's going to look like having both of them out there. Because even when she was hurt and she's coming back, Jaden Livings played back row a little bit. And I was like, oh, like, is she even healthy enough for that? But like, oh yeah, you just sub her in for the back row and she's not playing front row. I was like, okay, hey. Or like she played a little bit of front row. Yeah. But I was pleasantly surprised. So I'm curious how that recovery timeline is going to look for them. But everyone else is healthy and they're looking good.
Yeah, just think about Jaden Livings playing outside. You have that offensive weapon. Then you still have Sully Davis from the back row. Oh my God, this SMU team by the end of the season could look extremely, extremely dangerous.
Yeah, I won't lie. I thought they were the most fun team to watch this weekend.
Yeah, I just enjoyed the game.
I mean, their energy was so fun. They were having so much fun. They were going after it. They were electric. I mean, a bunch of highlight clips, a bunch of bounces. Favor Onyanwu has amazing energy as well. I thought the middle duo still had a really great game.
Yep, her and Natalia Newsom.
Yeah.
They're doing their thing.
Yeah, I mean, Natalia Newsom didn't even get set that much, but I mean, you can still see, oh my gosh, she's a crazy athlete.
Yeah, the blocking, though.
Yeah, she's a huge threat. Yeah, blocking is amazing. Same thing with Favor. So This team is, again, I don't know where they're going to end up at the end of the season, but to me, the way they're looking, they had the potential to be top 10, and they're making that push as well.
Yeah, these also are just very big overreactions as well. Oh, yeah. Everything we say, because they did play against Texas A&M, who was down their main weapon. So take it all again with a grain of salt, because we are overreacting. And another overreaction that I have to give is Victoria Harris is an absolute playmaker at the libero spot.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she was making save after save for the team. She was running into the crowd over and over. I was like...
Yeah, it was like 3 times in a row.
I was like, how do you keep doing this? And you're getting the ball back up perfectly. Yeah. It was amazing from her.
Yeah, I love the energy that she plays with. I mean, I thought that kind of fit exactly what this SMU team is kind of about. And it fits also what Sam Erger is as a coach. I feel like she is built up a team that kind of fits that identity, and it works so perfectly. And I'm so excited to see them as a full team when you see Jaden Livings back. Because also, Hannah Beauford, as a freshman, as a setter, again, these freshmen are adjusting so fast, and she looks great right now. She had some moments of like, oh, still a freshman setter, figuring things out, like especially with decisions. But we heard Sam Erger being so encouraging for her to just make decisions and be decisive with what you want, and that it's going to work out, and if it doesn't, I'm okay, I have your back. And I love that for her. It worked out for her. She looked super confident out there, even though she's still a freshman, and it's a really great debut for her as well. She was also being aggressive. She got some blocks, and she got some kills as well, so I thought she was definitely in a groove.
Yeah, she played really well. I'll give her the little bit of a... She is like a redshirt freshman, I think.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so she did have a little bit of time with the team last year. Granted, a very, very different looking team, so she still looked really, really good. Very impressed by her.
Yeah.
And SMU just in general, last player I think to talk about is Gabby Placide, where she also looked really good on that right side. Of course, not fully that Malaya Jones comp yet, but low-key she could get there.
You can kind of see it.
Yeah, the offense was kind of there. I can see the vision. I can see the vision.
I mean, it's crazy to say because, I mean, that team was so well balanced, and you saw what Malaya Jones was able to do, and one of the most powerful players that we saw last year. But Gabby Placide has been able to do that and kind of mimic in her own way of being a super aggressive attacker and taking big swings and being super physical at the net.
And that should wrap it up for SMU. We only have our two final teams now, both from the Big East, Xavier and Marquette. Let's kick it off with Xavier really quickly. I think for me, one thing about them was just that Charlotte Moriarty is very legit. She looked really, really good on that outside, and I think she's going to perform very strongly in the Big East.
Yeah, and I agree. I thought she looked really good. I think on a pin like that, and you're taking big swings against a Pitt team that, I mean, we see how great their blocking is and how offensive they are. There's a lot that you have to deal with for that Xavier team, and this is first serve for them. So I'm really excited how they're going to look in the Big East.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch them play against Creighton. I think that'd be a match to watch.
Yeah, even against Marquette, those two going against each other would be definitely a good match.
Let's just talk about Marquette real quick, where for them, I think they also had a really good outside. They had Carson Taylor, and for her, one funny thing that I just have in my notes is that she just looks like a better jump topspin server than like all of the Texas players that they played against. And I just thought that was really funny that Texas had this whole mandate, and she was just doing it better.
Yeah, I mean, she looked very comfortable, which was kind of funny seeing her contrasted to all the Texas players that were hitting topspin serves. I mean, she was definitely ripping the ball, and she was hitting really, really hard as well. But even as a hitter, I mean, she was doing a lot for them and scoring a lot of points, even though, I don't know, it's tough to gauge how that Marquette team looks as well, just because Texas did give up a lot of points with those 24 service errors, and that's not even talking about the 24 hitting errors that they had. So that's 48 points that you give away, but you play in that 5-set match. I mean, I honestly think that it is good, really, really good experience for Marquette playing a really good team like that already super early on. So also, again, I think that definitely helps them out in the long run.
Yeah, agreed. It's cool that they got to play this close match and almost took it away from Texas. So all the props to them. And my last note I have for them is that Emmy Jurek is a very good libero. I think she was actually digging the Texas team pretty well. That was the one big thing for Marquette, is that even when Texas was attacking, they were getting a lot of good ups. They were
playing a lot of good defense, for sure.
And just a quick side note before we wrap it up, I think it's just really funny that her twin sister is also on the team, and her twin sister is like 6'5", and then she's like 5'9", 5'10".
Took all the height with her.
It's crazy, just especially because they're twins. Sisters, I get. Twins, that sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that'll wrap it up for all the teams in the AVCA First Serve, and that'll do it for our review of all these teams and overreactions. Of course, those last two teams didn't really have any big reactions for them, but generally we had a lot of big things to say about each of the teams. And in the comments, I think you guys just gotta let us know, what are your big takeaways, your big overreactions to each of these teams, your favorite team in the AVCA First Serve.
Yeah, there's a lot of great things that you can take away from these, positive and negative if you want to take it that way. Of course, we always like to focus on the positive, but there are so many questions that we have for how these teams are going to look at the end of the season. Let us know if you got anything else, how you're feeling about your favorite team, or maybe just one of your teams that you liked watching playing during this First Serve. A lot of great things going on.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun this weekend. Very good event, but that'll wrap it up for us. If you made it this far, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
All the NCAA is coming. We're going to keep it going. Let's go.